In this video, I want to talk about one of the most important factors to cold email success, and that is the list building and enrichment process. Chances are, if you have run cold email campaigns before, you have come across tools like Apollo, ZoomInfo, Clay. You've probably heard of these names. In this video, I want to discuss a little bit about and dive deeper into how you can actually utilize these tools to the best of your ability in order to get more qualified meetings. Whether you are sending these to your sales team or whether you're trying to book qualified meetings for your company. In this video, I want to dive deeper into that. My name is Rayyan. I'm running RAX Media. I've sent over 1 million plus cold emails up until this point. When a campaign fails, it's never random. This is the third and final breakdown where the biggest mistakes hide in plain sight. So when a cold email campaign fails, it's usually one of these three problems. I already made a video about part 1 and part 2, which is the offer / messaging and deliverability. In this video, I will be talking about the final component, which is the list building process. So I will start this with something a little bit controversial, and that is the fact that your copy is actually overrated. Everybody obsesses over writing the right copy, the right messaging, rewriting the opener 10 times, A/B testing, subject lines, CTAs, and all of these things, which, it is important to a degree. I'm not saying it's not important, but a lot of the times, if you are doing this and you're not focusing on the list building component, which I would argue is more important, it's kind of like multiplying something by 0. So even if your copy level is 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, the result is still 0 because your list quality is 0. So you could have the best copy in the world. You could pay the best copywriter in the world to write you the best copy, and you're going to use that in your campaigns. But if the list quality is 0, your output is 0. And to prove this, I want to show you proof from an example campaign. This campaign, we sent 439 emails. Like, it's a campaign with less than 1,000 contacts, which is not something we usually do. The reply rate was almost 20%. We got an 88 positive reply rate and a 28% meeting booking rate. Now, this is not a typical campaign. I don't want to make this as the standard, but every contact we emailed was an Arabic-speaking podcast host, which was a niche audience. So people with real shows, real audiences. This is not easy to find. This is not something that can be found on Apollo or Clay. But because the list was so niche, these people rarely got cold emails. And then when we reached out to them, we started seeing really good responses. And on day 1, we literally booked 5 meetings. You can say the copy we ran also played a role, but we didn't use any fancy Clay AI personalizations or anything like that. It was a very simple copy, but because the list was so good and the offer was so relevant to that list, people ended up responding. Now, am I saying that you have to purchase a tool that gives you very exclusive data that nobody else can have access to or something like that? No, you can still get really good results with Apollo, Clay, ZoomInfo, but all I'm saying is that the list building component is very, very important. And even if you were to ask yourself, where does this data actually come from? It usually comes from one of these 3 sources. It's either LinkedIn, Google Maps, or other. It could be some niche scraper. It could be like job boards built with company websites, something like that. But all I'm saying is that a lot of the times the data source you're using, the tool, is actually sourcing the data from LinkedIn anyways, right? So this is something to consider when you're trying to build lists and trying to select tools. A lot of times the data is coming from these 3 sources. But this will allow you to discover, okay, what tools should I actually spend on and what should I prioritize in my tech stack. Now, it is important to give yourself a bit of a reality check because a lot of these tools, they can do certain things very, very well, but there are other filters or things in the platform that I wouldn't really use. So for example, I would ignore the revenue filter entirely, unless maybe I'm targeting public companies. But with private companies, if you were to ask yourself, like, how would they even collect that kind of data? How would they collect $10 million revenue, $20 million revenue? They don't share that kind of data, right? So it's important to, at least I ignore it because I prefer to use other filters that are more reliable, you can say. Intent signals, again, there are other ways where you can target this. So I use things like competitor company followers that basically tells you whether or not that company is looking for a service like yours or looking for your product. Industry alone, that is too broad. I always like to pair it with keyword matching to get something more accurate. Departments and seniority filters, yes, it's good, but I prefer to use job titles. That gives me more precise targeting. You can select, for example, marketing, and you can select senior, but a lot of the times, there are people who are considered senior, but they're in that entry level area or in that junior level area. I know it's a problem with Apollo, but this is why I prefer to use the job titles alone. The verified checkbox for Apollo So they will sometimes say, this email is verified. I would not trust that entirely. That is a signal, that is an indicator, but I would still take it to a third-party verification tool to actually verify that the data is valid. Now, in terms of the filters I actually trust, I do use keywords, employee headcount, job titles, location. These are really the main ones. And then after, you can do some enrichment via other tools like Clay and all these things. Something important to consider is that a lot of the data coming from LinkedIn, or maybe not a lot, but some of the data that comes from LinkedIn is inaccurate. Humans can make mistakes because it is self-reported. So, when you create an account on LinkedIn, you actually select, the industry, or if you create a company page, for example, on LinkedIn, you get to select the industry and all of that. So, for example, a SaaS platform can label their company as marketing and advertising when they're actually more on the information technology side. And Apollo will actually pick that up, and it's kind of like misreported data. So it's important to consider that, because volume negates luck, you can kind of use that as a hedge against, any inaccuracy. So here I am on a tool called clay.com. This is where I can build my company list. So for industries, I can put, for example, information technology. I can put, technology. I think I saw another one. Technology, information, internet. You could put like software development, for example. And then here under the description keywords, I can put SaaS. I can put software as a service. That's when it starts filtering further. And then I can go to the headcount and put 11 to 50, for example. And let's say I want to segment this by geography. So I only want to target, SaaS companies in the US. I can put United States over here, and then I have my list of companies. Now, one of the most important aspects of list building is the actual verification part, because if the data is wrong, then the campaign is completely wrong. You have to actually verify your email addresses, no exceptions. So if you go ahead and build a list on Apollo, Apollo will say the list is verified, but you still have to take it to Million Verifier or Never Bounce or any of the verification tools out there to actually double check if those emails are valid. Now, high bounce rates actually kill deliverability. So a clean list is not an optional thing. You need to do it. Now, the other side of this is the data inaccuracy part. You could just be reaching out to the wrong people. You could have a list of, let's say, 1,000 sales leaders at software companies. You're reaching out to, let's say, junior level people. You're reaching out to talent acquisition managers. You're reaching out to talent managers. All of these guys are not qualified. So that's actually, that's eating from your campaign. It's actually killing your campaign. So the whole idea is that you build first, then audit, then fix. If I do director level marketing titles at US banks, you'll find sales marketing hybrids, fintech, consulting firms, executive assistants. So it's very important to actually go ahead and double check your list, before reaching out to these people. And if you realize that your positive reply rates are down, you can actually go ahead and look at that list and see, are there any data inaccuracies? So this is a common data pipeline procedure you can use. You can actually build a list in Apollo, verify it on Million Verifier, take these leads, put it onto Clay, and then enrich it. So you can go through the individual companies and see, okay, is this actually a SaaS company, for example? You can use an AI for that. You can use like GPT-4o or GPT-4o Mini. And then after that, there's the Instantly. You can actually push it into Smart Lead or Instantly, the sending platform to actually reach out to these leads. That's pretty much it regarding the video. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. This is the entire series now done. But apart from that, hope this video is valuable and have a good day.